Well, they should care because it affects the delivery of services from the state and how their tax dollars are spent. You know, I've spent time in government and around government and with organizations like the PPIC and others. And what's happened is when money gets sent to Sacramento or Washington or the moon, people don't have confidence that it's being spent in a way that's being responsible. They don't know where it's being spent. And so by bringing government closer to the people, by devolving power, this fancy word we call realignment, is really all about trying to create a greater connection between government and what it does and ordinary folks in the community. Less and less people are voting and participating because they don't feel they've got a stake in the game. Government at the local level doesn't really do much anymore because all the power is at the state level. If you can create a nexus, an incentive for people to participate, a relevancy for them to be involved, and a sense that their money's being spent valuable, it's fundamental for democracy to work. I mean, there's many of the things. Certainly, I think what Governor Brown is doing with respect to public safety is good. I think in delivery of healthcare services, so much of what happens, I would devolve power of what the state has been doing. Whether it's funding of libraries to anything you could do, to even education. Because one of the great challenges are we have 1,000 education boards in California, 1,000, and yet the policies made in Sacramento, yet the decisions on pay are made in Sacramento. You got to create an ability where there's a certain basic minimum standard of equity and fairness in all communities across California, but you've got to give people the ability to be involved. Some local school board member gets elected and they really don't have much power. They get screamed at and all they do is tell people, well, I don't have any power over it. Well, that turns people off. When you paying government officials, you're expecting service and you're expecting your voice to be heard. And so this frustration, particularly in education, I think is critical to be removed, to move to the local level. Equity and fairness. Equity and fairness. Certain communities that want things or don't want things. They don't want poor people in the community because of housing issues. They don't want immigrants in their community. They don't want this, they don't want that. Standards of poor communities versus rich communities. Rich communities getting much better education and much better service than poor communities that don't get basic, decent standards. You've got to ensure fairness and you've got to ensure certain minimum standards, and those things are very tricky to do. Courts have done that over the years pretty effectively, but as you realign more and more and more, those are going to be great challenges that affect us.